Hello and welcome to the Real Brain Wrap, where we unwrap trends and social progress through media. I'm Greg.
I'm Ty.
We are going over the LGBTQIA plus representation.
Normally at the Real Brain Wrap, we'd go deep into ancient history on this kind of thing, but if we were going to go into the history, the answer is it's the entire time. The whole time of humanity, it's been around. Since ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Mesopotamia.
Before the civilizations, even before humans. Homosexuality's been around, it's just natural. Humans didn't create the act, but we did ban it. It wasn't until the Abrahamic religions that it really started putting a damper on the whole act.
Anything that they deemed unfavorable for some reason. Which, by the way, we at the Real Brain Wrap are LGBTQIA plus positive friendly. We are supportive.
It's totally natural, totally normal. But what's unnatural is some section of humanity banning it, which unfortunately became the new norm. And as we fast forward through ancient history, through revolutionary history, so much history, we get to like the beginnings of cinema. It really starts to take that reflection of society onto cinema and evolves. And we can actually see it evolve much faster than it did when just trying to exist in the thousands of years it tried to with theocracy.
Even then, when the writers were writing it, it had to stay either somewhat hidden or the LGBTQ character was the villain or something. Like, for example, you get Sheridan Le Fanu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not, because, again, we're not linguists.
Not linguists.
Not linguists. But he was Irish writer, and he was the man that wrote Carmilla, or Carmilla the Vampire Queen. Mm-hmm. And it was basically the work that Bram Stoker designed Bram Stoker's Dracula off of, but he changed the female vampire queen to a male vampire seductor, because Carmilla was supposed to be, and all those early like lesbian vampire like stories were all like warnings against women becoming lesbians. I don't know why that became a thing, but that was a thing. You also have people like Hans Christian Andersen, who was a closeted gay man, but would write his works in like hidden in subtext into his stories. So one of his affairs that he supposedly had, he basically wrote into the Snowman. Also, his whole feelings about being a closeted gay man, not being able to express his feelings the way that he wants, he wrote into The Little Mermaid.
Rather kind of beautiful that Little Mermaid, which is written with a subtext, was also written lyrically with the subtext
Later on by people that also understood.
Right. Many of you don't know, if you like Little Mermaid, you like gay.
You do? You like it. Gay fish.
South Park.
But
let's jump back.
Also, Oscar Wilde. Just gotta mention Oscar Wilde. We don't need to keep this bit in there. I just want to mention Oscar Wilde.
There's also Oscar Wilde, who's Oscar Wilde. There's really no need for subtext or story behind Oscar Wilde.
I don't really need to explain it. Just Oscar Wilde.
You understand. There was things called lavender weddings, or lavender marriages, beards, if you will.
Cover-up marriages, basically.
Yeah.
With Rudolph Valentino and Jean Acker, 1919. Rudolph Valentino, or Rudy Valentino, he was known for playing rather effeminate roles, and he became known as the Pink Powder Puff. It was a really unfortunate nickname that people attributed to him back in the day. And he went through like lavender marriage after lavender marriage, because the studios kept trying to cover up the implications. The studios had things like moral clauses in actors' contracts, where if the actor fell out of public favor in any way, like if the public eye just didn't like him anymore, or them or her or whoever, if they just decided that they didn't like them, which they could very easily just because they suspect that they're gay or something, because of rumors even, these moral clauses in their contracts meant that the studio could just cut their contracts off, or completely cut their salaries, or choose not to work with them anymore. It would essentially cause certain studios to blacklist certain actors. They won't work with them because they feel like they won't gain any box office returns because of the public.
Rock Hudson, who's very theorized to be gay, but was not blacklisted.
They tried to keep like muckraking him, basically. They kept trying to get him to come out about it, and he never would. So the studios kept working with him. He didn't get as many movie roles after that, but he still worked up until the day he died in the 80s. William Haynes just straight up admitted it. He was like, yeah, no, he's my gay lover and I'm gay. And then he just straight up got blacklisted.
These whole moral clauses, they seem quite bad, terrible, unfortunate. Unfortunately, they're still around today.
They literally still exist in actors' contracts today. The moral thing that they're getting blacklisted for is a very different thing now.
Around the 20s and 30s, even though LGBTQIA stuff was around, and it was depicted in movies very, very lightly. Sometimes on the radar, sometimes coded, sometimes just very effeminate men, but they were like generally villainized. A part of the reason why people had this huge moral stances against them, like Catholic churches, like governments who make the acts illegal.
No way. Like the Bible we were talking about earlier? Like
Yeah.
the Abrahamic religions?
Yeah, like the Bible we were talking about earlier. Yes, exactly.
And when governments promise that they're going to separate the church and state, but then don't?
This happens.
That is great, isn't it?
Some local governments would make laws restricting certain playings of films for moral code reasons. To combat this, the Haze Code was invented in 1934.
Try and like regulate anything that was like immoral,
Yeah,
deemed as immoral.
like a toilet flushing, like a man and woman sharing the same bed.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, if we wanted to get into the Haze Code, it's super, super weird. Even if it was like male and female and they were in the same bed, you couldn't imply that they were going to engage in any sexual act whatsoever. Like one person had to have their leg on the floor at the whole time. If you're going to have a scene where they're laying down, quote unquote, they had to be like kind of sitting. Like you couldn't imply that they're even laying together. Like one foot had to be on the ground, just like pool rules. Like when
Yeah.
when you're lining up a shot in pool, one foot's got to stay on the ground. You know, you get the tasteful pan away to the night sky, a full moon, some clouds over it, and then you just hear that shot. The
8-ball corner pocket. With the Haze Code, which I'm pretty sure they saw it coming, the HUAC Code, which is in 1938. It was the government trying to
weed out communists and socialists from politicians and people of influence.
Right.
Which might include actors or people connected to the media, because a lot of the time they're connected.
And the Haze Code was formulated to protect against that kind of government interference in the media.
It's weird because it's like they were designed to combat each other, but they were also working in tandem at the same time.
Thank you for tuning in to The Real Brain Wrap. I'm Greg.
I'm Ty.
Make sure to check out our other page on Instagram, OBNooT, OBNooT. And make sure to follow us in The Real Brain Wrap. Like, subscribe, just keep coming back, because we want to keep doing this more often.